We have King of the Ring announcements and King of the Ring preview live right now on In This Very Ring.
I can't believe it! Yes! Yes! The Rock is going to WrestleMania! Randy in position for another curb stop. Oh, my God! Unbelievable counter! Oh, my God! Unbelievable!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of In This Very Ring. I am the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. My name is Rich, and joining me, well, actually, there's nobody here. And that is because, so normally Pete and Butters are both here. Butters is at Comic Palooza this weekend in Houston. He is at the Cards and Comics Connection booth down there on the exhibit floor at the George R. Brown Convention Center. Normally, I'm down there with him. We spend the whole weekend, and it's a great time. But because of the Disneyland trip earlier this month, I am not able to go. Speaking of Disneyland, we got to thank our sponsor, Allen Z Travel, specializing in creating vacation your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls you. Let their talented team of travel experts, including yours truly, create a custom vacation for you without any of the stress. Allen Z on over to allenz-travel.com/take the trip to get in touch with myself or Chuck Moranin over on Eagles Talk HUD or any of the other talented travel agents at Allen Z Travel. Pete Evans is out with a family matter. It is a personal matter of his, so we wish Pete well, and we hope to see him back next week, as we will see Butters back next week as well. If you guys are in the Houston area, though, go make sure you check out Comic Palooza, and you go find Butters. I think tomorrow he's dressing up as Ghostbusters. I think that's the rumor circulating right around. We do have a special guest joining us this evening. He is finishing up a prior commitment. He'll be here in just a few moments, and we'll get everything underway. But we've got a lot to talk about tonight. It is King of the Ring weekend. SmackDown wrapped up just about a half hour. Well, the taped version of SmackDown wrapped up just about a half hour ago from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where King of the Ring is tomorrow. It'll be 1 o'clock tomorrow Eastern, 12 o'clock Central. And we're going to break everything down tonight. The King of the Ring card, the brackets, the tournament, the announcement from Triple H yesterday. That also goes in tune with the announcement that SummerSlam will be going to Minneapolis in 2026. And it will be a 2-day SummerSlam extravaganza. It's interesting that they're taking SummerSlam and they're going to make it 2 days if you really think about it. WrestleMania is already 2 days. Now SummerSlam becoming a 2-day event. It's only a matter of time for the Rumble and Survivor Series become a 2-day. But that actually placates into Triple H's announcement, I think. I think that's the plan. Obviously, they're going to implement it this year, but I think leading into next year as well, it will play into that announcement that we're going to talk about once our special guest arrives. But what do you guys think about SummerSlam becoming 2 days? What do you think about it kicking off in Minneapolis, Minnesota? Is that WWE's response to, hey, we know we didn't give you WrestleMania 41 it pretty much was implied that you were getting. So here's the next best thing. Here is SummerSlam. We kick off that back half of the year, that back season, with WrestleMania. SummerSlam 2025 is going to be in, I'm sorry, is it 2025 or 2026? 2026 is going to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I do apologize. 2025 has not been announced yet. It is not next year. It is the year after. So yeah, lots to talk about there as well. As we, it's 2 years away. What is the landscape of WWE going to look like in 2 years? What is the schedule going to look like? We're seeing all these different things with, SummerSlam going to 2 nights and the King and the Queen of the Ring tournaments happening now in May. Money in the Bank is next month, which is huge. It's not. What's the word I'm looking for here? This time of the year is not a blow-off time anymore. Whereas in the past, Butters and I, we kind of taken it easy You know, we do different tournaments, we do different conversations related to what's happening, but in a more lighthearted, fun manner, because there's usually nothing really big going on. But now, and just in the world of WWE, not even taking AEW into account of things, just in the world of WWE, we have King of the Ring, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam, boom, 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 right after WrestleMania. So the hits keep on coming. We're going to get into our topic of conversation, and it plays off of the announcement made by Triple H at the Saudi Arabia, at the King and Queen of the Ring kickoff panel, that presser that they did. Triple H's new strategy will redefine the future of WWE. And I think that's what I'm talking about. When we look to the future, we don't look at just tomorrow and the ramifications coming out of tomorrow to August. When you look past August 2024 and you start looking at WrestleMania 41, next year's King of the Ring, next year's Queen of the Ring, Money in the Bank, SummerSlam. Then the year after, when you have a 2-day SummerSlam event, there is a lot at play there. There is a lot that can happen in such a short amount of time. And I think it's important that we understand this is Triple H. This is his stratagem. He said it. I want to pull up the quote from that Triple H. There's a line in his. I have the transcript here. Yeah. In the past, the King and Queen of the Ring, it was such an honor to be in that tournament and to win that tournament on your own, to have that launch you to another place. But I wanted that tournament to kind of stand on its own, and I didn't want to announce this part of it until we got here. So that just says right out the gate what the King and the Queen of the Ring tournament means to not only Triple H, but so many others. Going to King and Queen of the Ring. Just so many others that have won the King and Queen of the Ring, that have used it to propel their career to new heights, to new levels. You look at winners past. Bret Hart, Mabel, Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's where Austin 316 was born, right? On a random June night in 1996 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You thump your Bible, you say your prayers, talking about your John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, "I just whooped your ass." It was at the King and Queen of the Ring. The King of the Ring. Triple H would win it in 97. Ken Shamrock, Billy Gunn, Kurt Angle, Edge, Lesnar, Booker T, William Regal, Sheamus, Bad News Barrett, Baron Corbin, and most recently Xavier Woods. Right? When Triple H would win in 06, it was a SmackDown branded tournament. That was when they were doing the big drafts and everything like that. You think about all these stars, and a lot of this list is Hall of Famers, going all the way back to 85 when Morocco would win it. Bret would win it twice. Oh, he won it in 91 and 92. I mean, 91 and 93. They didn't have it in 92. But this was definitely a time where, I'm missing Tom Arnone, yo, I'll disagree to get it going. But I have to take the other side to that, though, Tom. I have to agree to the poll, because everything Triple H does, and this is when you think broad stroke, you think bigger than just King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring. Every little move that Triple H has made since taking over has, and Butter says it right here. I agree to the poll. The Triple H era will bring about a whole new era of WWE. He's redefining what wrestling is. He's redefining the foundation and the principles of WWE. Gone are the days of the Vince McMahon era and how there was only a set parameters that they operated within, and you couldn't mention the past. You couldn't mention people being elsewhere. We're gonna bring in our special guest host for the evening from A2D Wednesday night, a lazy booking original, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Chromiak.
What's going on, brother? What's up, fam? Let's talk some wrestling.
Let's do it. So we're going over the poll question. Triple H's new strategy will redefine the future of WWE. And you can look at that broad stroke, or you could look at that very on an individual basis, right? When you look at what it does for the King and Queen of the Ring with that announcement that they will receive a title shot at SummerSlam. I almost said WrestleMania because we're so used to that.
Yeah.
Right? What could that have done to winners past? Like an Xavier Woods from last year, for example. Had Xavier would have had a title shot, we have been able to say that, obviously other things would have had to be in play, but could Xavier become champion, be a bigger star than he already is? Right? You go back, further. You and I were talking earlier today about Owen Hart, right? Because yesterday was 25 years since, and I remember that night, and that's a whole nother story for another time.
Crazy.
But 25 years since we lost Owen, and it almost makes you wonder, had he won in 90, when he won in 94, if he had gone on to become a WWE champion, is he doing the Blue Blazer gimmick in 99?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I mean, listen, it's the King of the Ring was something special back in the day. Now, obviously, it originates even before 93 when everybody remembers the pay-per-view and Bret Hart winning. And, you go back. That's why Harley Race had the King gimmick. He was the King of the Ring. Macho Man Randy Savage was a former King of the Ring. So, it's something that has a longer lineage, I think, that people realize. And I think that it originated and in 93 with the resurrection of it, making it kind of more of like a catapult to the next level, so to speak, for a lot of guys. Talking about an Owen Hart, obviously there were a couple flops like a Mabel, but you look at Austin, Triple H, guys who won in the past, there was an emphasis on it, but nothing like this. And that's what I think is great about it is, they found a way to make this, something must see and something special. Because, the last couple times they did it, it was like a Monday Night Raw tournament that went over a couple of weeks. And, by the end of it, King Sheamus, like nobody cared. Like, King Barrett and all that, it kind of just became passe. And it was just like something they did, right? King Corbin.
It was to get us through like a lull, so to say.
Yeah, it became, and in more recent years, it became more of we need a filler for the next couple of months until we get to, SummerSlam or something like that. It's actually kind of wild to think that it took this long to put something on the line, such as a title shot. But it does. It makes it important. It puts it on the level of Money in the Bank and Royal Rumble, right? There's something to gain from it big time.
And how quickly the turnaround time from you have Royal Rumble, that winner goes on to WrestleMania. Now you have King of the Ring 2 months, not even 2 months later, about a month and a half later from WrestleMania, that winner goes on to SummerSlam. Next month, not even next month, like 3 weeks, is Money in the Bank. That person now has a title shot whenever. So you could almost argue that we're just handing out title shots to people. But like as soon as that announcement came out, I was like, oh wow, these finals actually matter now. Like if Gunther, because it's going to be Gunther, Randy Orton, Nia versus Lyra Valkyrie. If Gunther wins, he's now like that's how you now put Gunther in the title shot, in the title picture.
Yeah.
Right. If Randy wins, that's now how you get to Randy Cody without somebody really having to play the bad guy here.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh my God, this is now how you frame it. Right? So I think it to your point, it elevated it to the next level in one sentence.
Yeah, and I believe the title shot is for what? SummerSlam, correct?
It is for SummerSlam, yes.
So again, right, other big announcement this week. starting in 2026, SummerSlam's now a 2-night event, right?
Yep.
And they've really made SummerSlam a huge event. It kind of always has been, of the quote unquote big four. SummerSlam, Royal Rumble, Mania were the ones that kind of were still big events, right? Survivor Series kind of fell off until they added War Games back.
And even then, it still doesn't feel like it has a set identity anymore.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's why they put the War Games in, to try to give it an identity to it, almost like Fall Brawl back in the day. But I think you have to, it's different than the other ones too, though, right? One is a battle royal to get to WrestleMania. 30 people you have to go through at one time. It's like the All-Star game almost.
Yep.
Right? Then you look at Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank is a ladder match that you just don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know when that person's going to cash in. So that has its own identity. So this idea of handing out title shots, it's different. This is a straight up tournament. You win, you're going. You got to work your way through. It takes a couple of weeks.
It's like running the gauntlet, essentially.
Yes.
Right, which was something that, and we don't really show them a lot of love, but something that TNA back in the day did really, really well. They had those gauntlet matches for either titles or for title shots. And in the past, we've seen great gauntlet matches in WWE in recent years. I mean, the one that landed Kofi the title shot.
Yeah.
Right, with the New Day, they went that whole hour.
Agreed. Yep.
So yeah, no, it does bring a huge identity to it.
Yeah, and again, it's its own identity. It's not the same. We're not saying, okay, we're gonna have a 10-man or a 15-man over the top rope battle royal on SmackDown to see who's the number one contender. It's its own identity, and again, it's put an emphasis on an event that back in the day it was something special to watch. It was. The King of the Ring was a big deal, and it became very, to the point where it went away for a while.
Yep.
And now bringing this back, it's almost, it's like when Elimination Chamber was around, right? They're finding ways to, recreate opportunities for excitement around getting a title shot, long build, right? They can still have their things in between, but it also gives you an opportunity to build towards something, because there's a little bit of time between now and SummerSlam.
Correct. There is a couple of months.
It's almost the same. It's almost the same space as you would have with Rumble to Mania. So again, a lot of leeway there to really build up the program to SummerSlam.
Yeah, and I think I was talking before you jumped in here how that time after WrestleMania in years past has really been kind of like what you and many others here at the station are experiencing with the football season. There's that lull after the Super Bowl. You kind of get a little breather with the draft where it's like, all right, football's kind of back until training camp starts, and even then it's not really back till week 1.
Well, that would be like Money in the Bank. To your
Right.
point, great analogy, by the way. Money in the Bank is almost like the draft. Wow, great analogy there. Where you have that one night where you're like, or with obviously with football, it's 3 nights, but you have that one night where you're like, okay, like this is the taste of something. Because you're right, a lot of times, I don't want to say they pack it in, but the reset after WrestleMania takes a while to get fired.
You can feel that WrestleMania hangover.
Huge hangover, huge lull.
And now,
yeah,
you're not getting that now, and
right.
That's where I think the broad stroke of this poll question comes into play. Triple H's new strategy will redefine the future of the WWE. It has set the stage for next year and the year after, to where, all right, cool, we've got WrestleMania, that's great, we can breathe for like an hour, but now we've got to start building the King of the Ring that's going to have ramifications into SummerSlam, all while getting ready for the Money in the Bank ladder match a few weeks later, and then we get a breather to build take the foundation we laid and build those matches to SummerSlam, and we're back into the season, because after SummerSlam, it's WrestleMania. It's not WrestleMania building time, but it's laying those blocks for Survivor Series, for the Rumble, which then build to WrestleMania. So you create a more, almost like who has a short turnaround time? I would say maybe hockey and the NBA have a short turnaround time in between seasons, right? To where, all right, it's over. Oh, crap, it's the draft. Oh, God, we're starting up again. Right?
Yeah, for sure. No, I agree with you. So, it's good to see them using that time because I think, in a world now where AEW exists and other companies, New Japan has more of a U.S. presence, they need to be on top of their game. Listen, their identity is WWE. They're a brand. They're a worldwide brand. The superstar, the biggest star of the company is the letters. But to maintain that status and maintain that interest and continue to gain fans, they need to find ways. It's like anything else, right? Thanks, Greg. I was doing a little work today, buddy. It was hot out. But yeah, no, the opportunity to, really make something special at a time where you don't normally have that stuff. And, I think that they need to, they're like you said here, right? I think I understand a little more why we're going in this direction with redefine the future. They call this the new era, right? The post Vince era.
Yeah.
Having these new exciting events and things to create more of a 12-month creative that people would be intrigued by is going to help to redefine what the company's direction is going to be going forward post Vince. So I agree.
And it almost takes you back, like at least as a fan. Like if I think, like, because I'm really excited for tomorrow, and I become more excited for these. I hate the time slot. The time slot's god awful, but I get really excited.
I love a Saturday afternoon show. I'm not even going to lie.
I'm working, brother.
I know. I don't work Saturday. Well, I do, but it's usually voluntary, or I can do them whenever I want. I don't have to do them during the show.
Right, but these overseas shows, these PLEs, have taken you back to almost like a late Attitude Era, early Ruthless Aggression kind of pay-per-view schedule where it's like, oh my God, it's pay-per-view Sunday. We got to make sure we've got all our snacks and all our everything. It's going to be a good one. We don't want to miss a minute of the action.
Yeah.
And that's how, and I think a lot, I mean, obviously Backlash France did an amazing job and really set that tone. And Saudi, Jeddah has a lot to live up to tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, I think the other thing too, right? A lot of the Saudi shows were one or two big featured stars or events. Like you had the Legacy, like, you had the Goldberg versus Undertaker, the Brothers
of Destruction versus DX.
And that was kind of the identity of them before. Just kind of big money tickets, right? For all that Saudi money.
Yeah.
But again, from what reports are out there, WWE is looking to continue to build on that Saudi relationship, right?
Well, and was it Crown Jewel? It was I don't remember which Saudi show it was, but I remember our show right after. I said, "Is it just me, or is WWE trying to finally legitimize these Saudi Arabia shows to where there are long-term implications? It's not just a roll out the red carpet of all the All-Star game, for example, right? Or all right, here's better. The Pro Bowl, it has no ramification. It exists to exist,
right?
Right, and you get to see the big names that aren't playing the next night,
and you make a lot of money, right?
And you make a ton of money. God, I'm good with these sports analogies tonight.
I know you. I'll tell you, your time put in here is really starting to pay off, buddy.
I know, it's great.
No, and that's completely fair. I think we've seen that over the last couple of years. You had the Dom turn on Edge and Rey Mysterio. You started to see a lot of things over the last, I'd say, year and a half where they're making a little more of an emphasis. And again, if you're looking to, increase the profit on these Saudi shows, the one way to do it is to make them mean something more. So more eyes are on them. And this is absolutely a really smart business strategy. It's a smart creative strategy because it already kind of helps put your building blocks together for SummerSlam. You're not scrambling like we've seen in some years past with some of the different PLEs or other pay-per-views. They're not PLEs. I'm never going to call them a PLE. Makes me sick to do that. It's like calling Twitter X.
I'll never do that.
Yeah. Well, that's
we're live on X. That just
yeah.
sounds bad.
Yeah, these pay-per-views. Which, by the way, if you are live on X, please comment in. Let's go.
Oh yeah, no, please, absolutely.
But no, that's a great thing. Make it mean something more. Get more eyes on it. Get money. Draw more money with it. And again, it doesn't become like it puts an importance on it, Andy. We don't need these featured old over the hill legacy acts anymore.
Absolutely. You're just throwing up some of these different comments here. Kevin Dixon Dynasty guys chiming in and just bringing up good points like this move to Saturday has definitely helped. Agreeing to the poll because he's changing the game, no pun intended. But it's literally the first new person in charge since the early 80s. Kevin Dixon agrees. He also feels like it'll be a build to something no matter what matches it is and who's facing who. Right? It forces the hand to play the right cards.
Absolutely.
And speaking of the King and the Queen of the Ring, let's get right into the event. There's 6 matches on the card. One got added as of SmackDown, which I think is just the writing on the wall here, which is borderline unfortunate. When it comes to the tag team match for the women's tag team titles, Bianca and Jade are going to put their titles again on the line against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. We know that Bianca's getting written off because she is pregnant. At least that's the rumor. I don't think she's officially announced it yet.
I don't know that I'm buying that for many reasons. A, did you see or did you not see the Nia bomb or whatever they call it that she dropped on her today? She flopped right on her belly.
Oh, did she really?
She did. So I don't know if you also saw Dawkins' Twitter.
Yeah, where
he's been trolling everyone with the pregnancy stuff.
Okay, so because I know Montez had changed his Instagram to be like a father of 3 of something like that, from father of 2 to father of 3, and that's what really sparked everything. And then it didn't help last week with the Tiffany Stratton match, where everybody felt like Tiffany really, really protected Bianca from some of the different moves that she was doing.
Well, she hit her in the stomach though, and everybody said, "Up now she's trying to take the baby out."
Oh no!
I mean, if I'm pregnant, I'm not putting my baby's health and trusting Nia Jax to land that perfectly on a chest. And I'm telling you, I would be shocked because she landed right on her stomach.
Okay, yeah, I did not watch SmackDown because we already had the spoilers earlier in the day, so I took that.
Yeah, I did like a fast forward to see what we read.
Well, and I know some people on TikTok that do those like live reaction things, and they're overseas.
Yeah.
So they had clips, so I got to catch a couple things here and there that I wanted to see. But I took that opportunity after I got home to take a nap.
Yeah. So maybe she's pregnant, whatever. Maybe she's just hurt and she needs some time off. I don't know. But, we'll see what happens. I would be shocked that that's who they choose to go with. I mean,
I was just about to ask that.
I love Candice. I love Indy. I definitely think that there's untapped potential there in them, either as individuals or as a tag team. I would be shocked that if they're going to hotshot the title on somebody because of a pregnancy, that's where their choice
or even an injury.
Right. That would surprise me. There's a lot of female tag teams right now that I think are in a better position. I'll put it that way. I don't want to say undeserving. I don't think any of them are undeserving, but in a better position from a creative standpoint.
Right.
So I'm gonna go. If we're doing predictions, are we doing predictions?
We are doing predictions as we go through this.
Okay, then I will go with Jade and Bianca here.
Now, before I give mine, do we see a possible Jade and Bianca splitting and turning on each other here?
No, I think it's too early. There has been no seeds planted whatsoever for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So unless maybe they lose and Jade gets pissed and takes her leg out even more or something. But I would be shocked if they did that now.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a clean and there's no injury, there's no nothing. I don't like the idea of putting the titles on Candice and Indy, especially because while you turned Candice and Indy heel, you really after the draft you really didn't do anything with them. They're
Right.
just kind of existing there. I thought the stuff they were doing on Raw with Maxine was great to help solidify that heel turn. But then you take them over to SmackDown and they just kind of existed.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if I'm fantasy booking here, obviously, if I was to go somewhere along those lines, if we're going to start teasing that, maybe get them at SummerSlam against each other one-on-one, which I think would be a great spot for them with enough time. Hey, I don't think they're ready to totally put Jade by herself for a full run one-on-one. I think she's still working through some stuff, but I thought she's been great so far, by the way, considering
She's
what
amazing.
Yeah. Like I would maybe do it where one of them wins Money in the Bank, and then that creates a dissension. Like Bianca wins Money in the Bank, and they're tag champs then she's carrying the briefcase, and that creates a little bit of jealousy, and maybe you get a heel turn at some point. Again, this is contingent on if Bianca is not really pregnant. I'm going on the assumption I don't believe she is, just from things I've seen, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong about worse things.
Let's go to. It's so tough because everything. That's why I love these short cards. Like we have All Out, not All Out, Double or Nothing on Sunday, and they've got a massive card.
Yeah,
right?
they make that kind of. Excuse me. They make that more of like their. Because I believe that was their first event, right? Am I right?
Right.
All Out, or I'm sorry,
Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing. Almost feels like they kind of make that like, well, although the show in Wembley is probably going to become that now, but it's almost like their Wrestle Kingdom in terms of they load up the card usually.
But the downside is every AEW event is loaded, right? And that's kind of the point I'm making here. It's all loaded, and some of those matches probably don't need to be on that card. Whereas a lot of these PLEs as of late, especially the overseas ones, because they're only taking select stars, these are all matches that hit. Every match on this card today is either for a title or a shot at the title.
Right.
Right? So it's like, where do you go next after the pre-show match? And that's another thing. You have a championship match on the pre-show. Right? Not that that's a bad thing in this instance. It's just you had to put something, and every match is hitting. You can't put the finals on there. You can't put Liv versus Becky. You can't put the Intercontinental title match on there. Right? So the women's tag team titles go.
Is that the pre-show match?
Correct. That is the pre-show match.
First of all, I'm surprised because it feels like they don't do pre-show matches at all anymore. So that's a little bit shocking to me.
I think because it's Saudi Arabia is why they're doing it.
Maybe. I mean, that kind of gives me more reason to believe that Bianca and Jade are going to retain. I'd be shocked that those two drop a title on a pre-show match because not everybody particularly now without WWE, typically does their pre-shows where there's not matches on the pre-show card. I would be a little bit surprised at this point if they were to, have two of your biggest stars drop their title to a team that's kind of, obscure in the chase, very unexpectedly.
Yeah.
To me, no knock on it, but that would be like the idea of like dropping a title at a house show.
Fair. Let's go to the Intercontinental title match. Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable versus Bronson Reed. This whole thing with Chad Gable turning heel and attacking Sami. I wish it was just these two. I don't need the Bronson Reed factor here. Right? I think it's to waste, if I'm being honest. Because you need to have that payoff. Chad attacking Sami after Sami winning the title and taking that moment from him, and this heel turn, and now we're turning Otis heel, even though Chad's been berating him and just being an ass to him the whole time. But then we saw Chad talking to the Creed brothers, so is it going to be Chad, Otis, and the Creed brothers? Because we heard that rumor, right?
I didn't hear Otis.
Well, no. I'm saying, will it now be Chad, Otis, and the Creed brothers? We'd heard the rumor that it was just going to be Chad and the Creed brothers.
Right. I don't think Otis is. I mean, they've made it pretty clear that at some point Otis is going to, morally take the stand against Chad. I don't think there's any question that.
Well, didn't he get involved Monday though?
He did, but then he apologized. Then he went to Sami and he said, "I'm really sorry." And then
I missed.
Yeah, so there was a segment after where Sami's in the locker room and he shows up in the locker room and Sami says, "Oh, you got a lot of guts showing your face, and I thought you were better than that, but apparently I was wrong," and blah 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 blah. And then Otis says, "Sami, I'm sorry," and he says, "Yeah, well, we'll see," something along the lines of that. And you see Otis is kind of torn, and then Otis is talking to the Creeds. Says, "Hey, yeah, we'll talk more about that later. Think about what I said." And Otis walks up, and then he says, "Oh, Otis, great job. You did what you were supposed to do, and you really proved your loyalty and your allegiance to helping me win my Intercontinental title." And then he says, "I apologize to him." And Chad says, "Great strategy. Get him on his heels. He doesn't expect it now. He's going to think that you're more, basically like you're morally straight. And he'll never see it coming when you get him again." Like something along those lines.
Okay, yeah, I that was not in the part that I watched. Okay.
Yeah. So they're teasing the breakup. It's coming.
Daly chiming in, he wants it to be just Chad and Sami. I think that's a better story. I think the Bronson Reed thing, like they're just throwing Bronson Reed in there to throw Bronson Reed in there. Right, in the grand scheme of it all.
Maybe. I mean, I think I don't agree with that. I think they're throwing Bronson Reed in there to take the pin so Chad can keep his momentum going. And
oh no, absolutely. Bronson's gonna take the pin here. There's no doubt about that. Right? Part of me wants to see them, Sami, and they're doing their job right at that point, though, right? Because now, as you build and as you keep these guys away from each other while still keeping them close together,
right.
And they haven't had that one-on-one. Sami hasn't been able to get revenge on Chad, or Chad just hasn't been able.
Didn't they have a one-on-one a couple weeks ago?
It was before the I thought it was before the split. Like it was a one-on-one for the title, and then he beat him. Sami beat Chad.
Right. And that's when I thought they had another match. I could be wrong. I don't
think they have.
It all blends together for me.
It really does. There's so trying to keep it all square. Sometimes it's so difficult.
It's very hard to keep up with.
But I think Sami retains here. I don't think we see.
No, I don't think
Chad winning. No. Now, when Sami does drop it, does he drop it to Chad? Yes.
I don't know. I mean, I'd be shocked if he drops the title to the first real contender that he has coming out of WrestleMania. Like, I would be shocked. I think Sami maybe carries it to at least SummerSlam. I mean, if they keep this going and they get to SummerSlam, I could also see him holding it for as long as like Survivor Series or Royal Rumble. So I think this is more the Intercontinental title chase is now used to create the Chad Gable heel turn, and then in turn create the side sub story that is now Chad turning against the Alpha Academy and Otis now having this whole thing. I think it's actually going to lead to that.
Okay. And I wasn't saying that Sami was going to lose. I'm saying when Sami does eventually drop the title, I think it should be to Chad Gable. I think Chad Gable has put in the work and the time. And I said this when Gunther was champion. I championed Chad being the one to beat Gunther on this platform. But I think
at the end of the day, I think they already, in terms of that, dropped the ball because it should have been Chad Gable at WrestleMania.
It should have been Chad at that random Monday night in like October. That match was great.
But I was okay with it. Was one of the best matches of the year, and I was okay though not putting the title on him then, because that gained a lot of momentum. And what's the money in a face, right? It's the chase. Everybody loves to see the chase. So more people started paying attention to Chad Gable then and buying in and wanting to see him, to this point where you had a demand where people didn't want to see Sami at WrestleMania. And at the end of the day, they missed that opportunity, which is unfortunate. But then they went and did the heel turn with him, which is great. I think actually it's been done really well. I was skeptical at first, but I'm liking what I'm seeing coming from it, and I would love to see him with the Creeds and recreate like Team Angle 2.0.
Yeah, I think that would work out really, really well. Let's move on to Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. Tell me Liv's winning without telling me Liv's winning. Go.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, Becky hasn't re-upped yet. I say yet. Her husband did. There's no doubt she's not leaving WWE.
No, not at all.
But the other thing too is, let's not forget, Becky was supposed to take time off after WrestleMania, but when Rhea got hurt, they put the bat signal out, and Becky came running, and they put the title on her. It's a new title for her that she hadn't had, a new accolade that she can, like the NXT title, and she was the ideal choice. I know you guys thought other people maybe should have won that battle. I think she was the ideal choice for a transitional champion
who wouldn't get hurt her.
Yes, she's one who wouldn't get hurt from a transitional title run. I think she drops it here. Liv gets her run. That'll get us to maybe when Rhea comes back, and Becky can take her time off and sign her contract when she's ready.
Well, and and we'll use this to kind of go into the Queen of the Ring tournament too, right? It's a great way to instantly build, Liv versus Lyra.
Sure.
Right? Because I there's a small part of me that thinks that's the route they're going to go. I don't see them making Nia the Queen of the Ring, because I don't think, I don't know, that story, Nia as the Queen against Bayley, it just doesn't work, right? And I think Bayley's in a weird limbo too, and that's a whole other story for another time, right? But
I do think they did a good job with the finalists here, because they've been having side stories. Again, we talk all the time, right, Andy, about continuity of storyline. The side stories, with even going back to when Lyra dropped the title to Becky, Becky's one of her heroes. She comes to the main roster. There's kind of been a little like, hey, pat on the back, proud of what you're doing. Hey, I'm looking out for you type of a deal. And then on the other side, the night of the draft, right? Immediately Nia at Bayley. So they've done a good job to where, if you want to put in an unpredictability of who's going to win, this is it, because both storylines have the groundwork's been set.
Yes, and that is the one thing I will say. While I may not be excited for the Bayley Nia story, at least there's a reason to go there, right? If they go that route, I can see, all right, yeah, you know what? They decided to go that route. I understand why they went there. I don't like it, but I get why we're here. It doesn't excite me. Whereas in years past, if this was anybody else, any other two people, you're like, oh, it's definitely going to be this person.
Yeah, right? I agree. I would agree with you. Yeah, I think so. And again, like to your point, right? A lot of times you can see the writing on the wall, because you're like, well, they've done a little building for here, and the other one's just kind of like, okay, it's like a highlight spot, put them in the finals, you get a good match out of it, but where does it make sense if they were to win this?
Now, I will say, because again, it's almost a given that Liv is winning, right? So we almost transitioned straight into the Queen of the Ring tournament match. If Nia was on Raw, I like the idea of Liv Nia. Yes, we've seen the match before, but that goes back into that long term. The foundation's there for it, right?
Yeah.
Nia, and we talk a lot. We put Nia down a lot because Nia is just bad, right? But I mean, Nia, in a weird roundabout sort of way, is why we have Becky Lynch in the position we have Becky Lynch in.
Well, she is. I might surprise you here, Andy.
I'm interested.
I've been a fan of Nia's run since she's come back.
I haven't hated it.
Well, I think they've booked her right. I don't think she's been like, I don't think you've seen the sloppiness. I think she's been much better in the ring. She just kind of is hey, this is what I always wanted. Like, you're bigger than everybody. Bully everybody. Like, come in and be the bully and just take what you want. And that's what we've seen without her hurting people in the ring, like we've seen time and again in her previous run. So I'm got a foot and a half, got a couple piggies in the water right now in terms of Nia.
And I don't hate what they've done with Nia. I think they've done a decent job. What I do hate is that there were a lot of moments where she just felt like a supporting cast member for them to really just beat up on. Right?
Maybe a little bit, but
there was probably about a solid, I would say, I don't want to say a solid month, but there was a lot where you're like, all right, Nia's gonna come down, she's gonna beat up on Rhea, but then Rhea's just gonna train wreck her, and then she's gonna try to beat up on Becky, and Becky's just gonna wreck her. So Becky looks strong against Rhea, Rhea looks strong against Becky. They really use that element to help build the Rhea Becky without putting Rhea and Becky in the ring against each other in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
So in that, we'll go straight into Gunther versus Randy Orton, King of the Ring, and we talk about the unpredictability. And we brought it up earlier when we were talking about Triple H redefining the landscape of the WWE. I can take each of these men, have them win the King of the Ring, and book out your match at SummerSlam in 2 months.
I agree. I do agree. Love the finals for this match. This is one of those matches that you want to see it, right?
Yep.
So, and I don't believe these two have actually had a match previously.
I don't think they've had a one-on-one.
There's a long time. Like maybe before Orton got hurt, they may have.
Well, then I think Orton was in that SummerSlam match. Not SummerSlam match, that Survivor Series match.
Right.
When it was Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. I think Orton was in that. I don't think they've had a one-on-one match against each other.
Yeah, not that I can recall of.
Not that sticks out, at least. So, one, that's exciting. Two, Randy's never been the King of the Ring winner.
No,
it's like
I'm listening.
No worries. And it's like the one thing left for him to do, right? We're kind of talking about like an unofficial Randy Orton final run kind of bit, right? Because it's been kind of not teased but hinted at before he had come back.
We're there? I don't know if we're there yet.
I think we're there in the sense of let's hit on some of these things that Randy hasn't done yet, so that when we get to that final run, we're not doing these things because he's retiring.
Like, what's crazy? He's been
almost
around
almost like what they did with Sting. Right? They did a bunch of things because Sting's retiring.
Huge difference here, though.
Oh, no, I get that.
Sting was about 12 or 13 years older than Randy Orton is right now.
No.
It's crazy, Andy. Think about this. He's been around for so long at this point. He's only 44. Like, AJ Styles, I think, was 45. Or I know that like Robert Roode, Bobby
Bobby
Roode.
Roode.
He was 45 when he came into WWE.
Correct.
This dude's like extremely young still. I know, and listen, the wear and tear is there. We know he has that issue with his shoulders, and I think that's why he put on a little bit more muscle to maybe help build around some of that stuff. But I don't know that we're on the final run of him yet.
I'm not saying we're officially on that final run. Where I'm looking at when I see the booking, I very much see them in these bookings as if Randy were to say next year or in 2 years, all right, I'm gonna get ready to hang it up. We don't want to put him in these positions to say he's done it. He can say, I'm gonna hang it up because I've done X, Y, and Z. There's nothing left for him to do. Right? I think you're building towards that. Do I think he still has a couple years left? Absolutely. Right? But the last thing I would want for him to do this like farewell tour or all right, we know at WrestleMania Randy's gonna retire. Right?
You don't want that? I want that.
I don't.
Like not anytime soon, but like
no, oh my God. I don't. I would rather him just go out there and put on good match after good match and not have any more accolades during that last year.
Well, I don't know that they'll hang accolades on him, but like I want to know ahead of time, like, hey, this is going to be it, and we're going to give him a tremendous match that sends it off. And
I would want to know. I didn't say I didn't want to know that.
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding what you were saying. I know the accolades that we were talking about. I don't think like
that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I don't think his last year they're going to hang a bunch of accolades. I think, you'll see him start to transition to where AJ Styles is at now, right? AJ is older. He's in the He's said it himself. He doesn't plan to go anywhere else. He's not going to go to AEW. Yep. He's going to finish his career with WWE, however long that is. And he's now at the point where he is, he's putting on tremendous matches. And he is, you're getting the matches like with AJ, or I'm sorry, with Cody that you didn't get. But you're also getting matches with young guys that we haven't seen before, or he's building them and he's putting them. LA Knight, not that he's young, but it was a match of a rising star that we feature at WrestleMania and give him a big spot against a Hall of Fame talent, one of the best in the world, in AJ Styles. Yep. I think you get Randy to that point for like a year and a half.
So who do you have winning this though?
So I'm not convinced that I'm not convinced that we're done with Bloodline stuff for SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. I still think you could get Rock. I think you could get Solo. And maybe that's where Roman comes back to cost Solo. And then they start, leading up to SummerSlam. I'm sorry, Survivor Series. So I think it's going to be Gunther.
See, I think it's going to be, and well, because KO came back at SmackDown to help save Randy, right, from the Bloodline. And there's a part of me that says Bloodline's going to try to get involved. KO's going to come out. And I think we see Randy win here because I think the Randy Cody thing will really help. Not help build, but help kind of put another legitimate contender in front of Cody. It'll give something that people want because we know when we get to next year, some WrestleMania, we're not getting that match at WrestleMania. Cody versus Randy. They're going to do something. They're going to have bigger plans, other things in play here for that. So SummerSlam is the next best spot for this match. And with Cody having the title and the student has finally become the teacher, and it's like, I can make so many different analogies. Take your pick, right? But I'm gonna go Randy here for this one. And also, again, and I said it when you stepped away for just a second. It's the last notch in the belt for Randy. The last thing he needs.
Yeah, I do think I think at some point you get Randy and Cody. I just don't know that we're going to get quite there yet. I think I think we're going to get a little bit more bloodline business in terms of SummerSlam and these big events, and not just
No.
like an interference.
And I don't hate the idea of Gunther winning either, right? I don't. Because we've talked about how do you get Gunther into the world title picture? How does it make sense other than just walk out and slap the taste out of Damian Priest's mouth?
Well, I would argue that he's already, when you have the run he had as Intercontinental Champion, and he's
like
still
de
putting
facto in there. Yeah, okay, I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think after that, you're a world title contender. I don't think you need to do very much to get there.
Fair.
In terms of, what's interesting about it is you're looking at either a heel versus heel matchup, or you're looking at a face versus face matchup, right? And again, that kind of contributes to you don't really know what direction it can go in.
And there's an understanding when it's heel versus heel or face versus face because they won this tournament, right? You don't need to have a story behind it because the story is I won. It's happening. No different than almost like AJ, even AJ Cody, because AJ was a heel, but he wasn't really a heel. He was just doing heel things against LA Knight.
Right. See, I feel like Randy could take the L here. How do you kill the momentum of a guy who just had a 2-year plus, almost 3-year Intercontinental title
Have
run?
him losing the finals against an old man?
Well, no, not even that. Have him losing big matches, which when you don't lose, right? When you don't lose for years, and now you're you're nailed it on the head. Like they're killing me with all these big matches that Jay's losing.
Another time we talk about that because I feel some type of way.
Well, I didn't have an issue with having Gunther versus him. Like I was cool.
No,
with that.
But when you combine it with everything else, it's just.
I would have rather them had him lose earlier with an interference, in some fashion, as opposed to get him to the finals to get into the main, the big event, or lose in the main event.
Yeah,
and lose it. I would rather them if you're gonna go that route and put him in and have him lose because of an interference and start building another program. Like to me, it felt like when you get to the the quote unquote semifinals before the finals, that's as big of a match almost as the pay-per-view is. When you're the featured main event on the program and you lose.
Absolutely. Let's transition. We got a few minutes left here. Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul. When I tell you, I couldn't care less about this because it's not champion versus champion. Like I got it. I understood it when they I don't know if they messed up promoting it that way. Champion versus champion. Okay, fine. You're setting up for some kind of interference because you shouldn't put 2 belts on Cody, but at least there's okay, sure. Logan, you're a champion. Stay in your lane.
Well, no, I think they did that intentionally so they can get a second match out of this. So, I think whether it's Money in the Bank or something, that's where you get the other. I'm actually very intrigued by this match because Logan Paul just puts on great matches, and him and Cody together. I mean, this could be an absolutely tremendous match. So, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see what they do after it. So, because I believe there's going to be a match 2, I'm going Cody here.
I'm excited for the match, don't get me wrong, because to your point, he does, and it frustrates, it hurts my soul to say it. Logan puts on good matches.
So good. Natural.
Right? Very much so. But I don't know. I'll be hopefully optimistic that they take this somewhere and it's not just a one-off and we did it just because we're going to do it. Right? I am still going Cody in this regard. But I don't know. I think the match is going to be great. And maybe it's just because I like Logan Paul, but I don't like Logan Paul at the same time. I like Logan Paul in the ring.
I think you'll get your title versus title before it's
I kind of want. I don't want Cody to have the 2 belts, right? I don't want Logan to have 2 belts. I thought this was a great way to essentially build that next true, legitimate, long-term story for Cody with some kind of interference here, and from who I don't know, right? But Definitely. Huh?
The Prime bottle.
Yeah, right? Oh, my God. I swear to God. I'll text you immediately if I see that Prime bottle walk out tomorrow. Immediately. But I think tomorrow's going to be great. Put it all in a nice little bow. I think tomorrow's going to be another great pay-per-view, PLE, extravaganza, whatever you want to call it, right? I think we're in for great wrestling. I think it's a great weekend for wrestling. We didn't even touch on AEW Double or Nothing because that's a 3-hour thing in of itself, right? But it's a great weekend for wrestling on all fronts. And I think at the end of the day, I think everybody's going to win. It's a great way to kick off Memorial Day weekend. Right.
Agreed.
I don't think. Huh?
Saying to the fam out there, lots to watch. Enjoy it.
Exactly. And I don't think we're going to be upset at the end of King or Queen of the Ring. I think no matter what the outcomes are, I think we're going to be very happy with everything.
Yeah, WWE's been on a good stretch with these PLEs, and I don't expect that to change.
Me either. All right, we are going to get out of here. I do want to touch base on one thing. I'll let you know next week. Haven't played it yet. I'm not hearing good things. But that being said, for Chrome, I'm Rich. We'll be back same bat time, same bat channel next week with Pete and Butters back in the saddle. Until next time, guys, catch this man every Wednesday night on A2D Wednesday night. I'll see you next Friday. Tell somebody you love them. Peace, love, and joy. We're out.